All right. Thank you so much, Shauntel, for taking the time to have this conversation with us. And you look beautiful. I love your background.
Thank you so much. I feel the same way about you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. So, I would love to start with my signature question, which is what is your definition of the word bloom in your personal and professional life?
My definition of the word bloom, when I think about it, it's something that's coming into full beauty, something that's coming out, something that's radiant, it's flourishing. But the most important thing when I think of bloom is I think of something that's healthy. Because in order for you to successfully bloom, you have to be healthy. So I think that that's the key essence that I take out of bloom is healthy. And I think that's something that we all are thriving to have and to sustain is good health.
Yes, that's so powerful. I actually never thought about it that in order to fully bloom at whatever stage in your life you are, you have to be healthy, right?
Yes.
That's excellent. Thank you. I'm so glad I asked that question. All righty. So now, as the next question, to give our viewers an idea what this conversation will be about, what they will take away from this, and how this will change their life.
Definitely the conversation that we're going to be having is just about the different stages of how to successfully bloom. And there's unique things that are going on with everybody, but we're all still going to endure adversity. We're all still going to endure grief. We're all still going to experience happiness and joy. And throughout the layers of our life, we definitely need to be able to learn how to embellish these things. We need to know how to endure some of these things as they are happening because some things may happen and it could potentially pause us and stop us from being great, from having that essential full experience in life. And I want for everybody to have that full experience in life. I don't want for everybody or for anybody to leave here empty handed and to have that blank canvas. So what I want to be able to do is highlight how we all can have a vibrant, healthy canvas no matter what we are going through in our stages of life.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chantal. So now I'm intrigued to ask you this next question. What does the full healthy experience and this beautiful canvas looks like for you?
It looks like being authentic. It looks like taking in the good, the bad, and the ugly and mixing it in and splashing it on the canvas. I think that when we first start our lives, we go to school and they teach us how to draw within the lines and they teach us how to do everything as a cookie cutter uniform type of experience. But as we get older, that's when we start to reject some of these things. And it's like, I don't have to be uniform. I don't have to be cookie cutter. Things don't have to be perfect. I can draw outside the line. I can use these colors to identify myself. I can have an all black canvas and then throw some white paint on there. So I really want to challenge individuals to not do the traditional norms, but to definitely think outside the box and be authentic to yourself. If
Yeah.
there's something that you would like to do that's typically not the normal run of the mill, don't fight it. Definitely take some time where you are able to digest those things and allocate that space for you so that you are able to nurture yourself to be healthy and to be true to yourself.
Wow, there is a huge wisdom in what you said, right? You're encompassing it very holistically, like the personal life and professional life, or your sports life, wherever you are as a listener, on your journey and whatever you are doing. These principles are so universal that they
Right.
apply to everything and anything that you are doing in your life. And I would say this is the wisdom, that we need to incorporate more and more into our lives, and to eliminate the feeling of emptiness, because sometimes it happens we are accumulating so much wealth, material wealth, right? Financially being, super rich and all of that, but then there is a void that we feel in our heart. And on the other hand, sometimes we are so busy, focused on just building the relationships, and the other areas are being neglected. But if you follow these principles that Shauntel is talking about, you can really live a holistic life where you are enjoying many different experiences, going outside of your comfort and trying really what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, which one would you like to work on and get better at. So Shauntel, I would love to know your story of and your journey on this path.
Definitely my journey has been about me. At a young age, I knew that I wanted to serve people. I just didn't know in what capacity. I didn't see myself being a nurse or a doctor, but I still had that heart, that empathy where I wanted to nurture people during different transitional periods. And so I did enter into the corporate world. And within that world, I was able to make a difference within different communities and organizations and initiatives by working with CEOs, COOs, CFOs, and working with the decision makers within those boardrooms and making that step towards where I am that voice now. I am able to lift up those from the front line, middle management, and bring that all the way to the top tier to the corporate world. And I just still felt that I wasn't being fulfilled. I felt like there was something missing. Even though I was internally there, I felt like I needed to step away and then come back from an external component. And then that way I would be able to make that difference. And now I do serve as a leadership speaker, executive, and corporate coach. But the thing about it is that even though I am working with the people, like the leaders, but they're still people. Titles aside, they're still living their lives like normal individuals like you and I. They still cry, they still get nervous, they have self-doubt, they still have fear, imposter syndrome, they're going through grief, they're going through adversity. So I hold over 15 certifications as a coach, and one of my certifications is a master life coach. So within that spectrum, now I'm really being fulfilled because now I am helping people through different transformational periods and I am able to help them. And when you're starting to do this work, it's almost of an essence as we're giving birth to a new person, a new life is being transformed. And a lot of times we put pressure on ourselves, like, I really want to make this work. I really want to make this change and nothing is happening. And I always say it's kind of like a sense of a woman when she's giving birth. That takes 9 months. But when an elephant is giving birth, it takes 22 months. And like I tell them, your transition may not happen within that 9 months. You might be giving birth to something big, something huge, something heavy, and it is going to take so much time. And so within that time frame, when the elephant does have the baby, then all of the animals gather around. And that's symbolic to the transformation that I make in different people's lives, is by the time they finally do give birth and push out their new self, or essentially, as you say, bloom, everybody's going to be there to gather around to see it. And I don't want to take the credit because it's you that's doing the work. So I definitely want to applaud those individuals that are going through that stage and just give yourself the time. It takes time to produce something great. And then that's where I come in to be a champion.
It does take time to produce something really great, right? As they say, nothing having worthwhile comes easy.
Right.
So if you want to live a life that you are proud of, that you want to leave behind a legacy, you must start working on yourself and developing the skills that are needed to bloom into that person who can achieve that life and that legacy. So what does it look like, Shauntel, for a person who's working with you? They are, let's say, wherever in their career, but here I would use the example of being an executive or a founder of the organization or a CEO, and they want to cultivate next level skills to be a better leader, and they want to work with you. What does that process would look like, and what are your first steps on guiding them on their journey?
That's a great question. One of the first steps is that I ask for them to be honest and to be vulnerable. Sometimes we may feel things in our head, but we never vocalize them out loud. And so this is the first time that some individuals are actually saying these things for the first time out loud. And now they're hearing this for the first time. And so now it's about getting out and having those tough conversations. It's about being in that space of vulnerability, because if I honestly don't know what's happening, then we're not going to be able to really make an impact of what's going on. And that's the thing, is that in order to be effective within anything, we have to be honest with each other. I want to know honestly, where are you at? How are you feeling about certain things? What are you doing to not necessarily be selfish, but what are you doing to show yourself that love? What space are you coveting for that self-compassion? Because if you're not coveting that space for yourself, how can you help out your team so that they're able to covet that time for themselves? A lot of leaders, they just suffer from burnout, unfortunately, more than their team. They're 70% more likely to endure burnout. So I want to make sure and get their health spectrum. They're suffering from work fatigue. They're suffering from life fatigue. They don't really have some of the best relationships with some family members and friends, because they go from the boardroom to the living room and they're on their gadgets, they're on their phones, they're sending out emails at 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
And we're all familiar with the term work-life balance, but so few people are really implementing that. And then from individuals who are not even CEOs and founders, from the front line, by the time they do get a chance to have that balance, they feel like they have to speed up that process because they're only given a day or a day and a half. So just imagine for CEOs and founders, they're not even getting that day and a half. They may only get a couple of hours on Sunday, but I really want to have them to cultivate what it is like to experience not just preparing and being in meetings and strategizing, but for more living in the moment. It's important that we're in the moment, but when we're in meetings, we plan for the future. So it's about reshaping their 9 to 5. It's about reworking what they do for a week. It's about rewiring how they think about their month. And then once the transition can happen within them, then it just naturally takes effect within their team. Their team will see that they're different. They'll see how they're leading with a little bit more empathy, compassion. And some people get the word charity mixed up. They think that charity is just about you giving money or you giving time. But like I challenge leaders, charity is you giving love,
Mm.
love for human kindness. So I want you to give love. Anybody can give a couple of dollars towards a cause and then keep doing what they're doing. But once you start to give love, that empathy is something that'll transition to now where your team, they'll give it back. And now with that happening, now you're really having solid, sustainable relationships. And some of the things that come from the fruit of that harvest is reduced turnovers. It is having a healthy, harmonious workplace. It is saying, hey, this is the great place to work, and we'll follow our boss wherever they choose to go.
Yeah. This is such a holistic approach, to being a leader and to lead your team in a way that they don't feel like, they have to fight or they have to juggle or choose between, the work or the life. They can have that work-life balance that we advocate so much, and creating a space that is not toxic, where people feel they belong, they want to stay there. The turnover rate is as minimum as possible, because you're so right. Everyone who joins a company, doesn't matter what company, but they join a company with a mindset that, okay, I'm going to perform 100% and I'm going to stay here for a longer period. And then the next thing they know, like the workplace is toxic, their bosses are not taking care of them, they're just asking more and more from them, and they're not the employees, they're not able to have a work life balance, they're not being appreciated, they're not being respected, they're not being heard. And this all comes down to if that the leadership of the company, they don't understand their values, or they are not able to trickle down the effect, what they want to see. And in that environment, employees feel unheard, unseen, and unappreciated.
Right. And like I always like to tell individuals, it is the work you were called to do the life you were intended to have with the balance that you definitely do deserve. When
Mm,
you start to put it in that aspect, it has a more profound effect, and it does motivate you to do things a lot differently than just saying work-life balance. It's
mm,
a lot more to it than that. And once you understand what all is involved in that, then that's when you do start to foster the mission statement. You start to incorporate the values, not just at the job, but in life. Those
yeah.
values are now immersed in you, and that is the individual of who you are. Some people don't know how to have that balance. They just know how to go, 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 and they're happy about it. Some people are like, yeah, I only got 2 hours of sleep and I'm still here and I'm knocking it out and I'm grinding it out. And it's like you don't get an award for that. You need to have your sleep. You cannot survive off of 2 hours of sleep a day. And then if you have that mindset, then you expect for everybody else to have that same lack of sleep as well, because you're doing it. Now you expect for everybody else to do it, and that's not sustainable. It's not healthy, and you can't encourage that, because then that's when individuals do start to suffer from work fatigue, and then it does drive itself right into burnout. And then once you're in burnout, within those elements, those nasty elements, you get stress, you get depression, you get anxiety, and those are all just toxic things that we just don't need, because they all start to wear us down. You start from having a cheerful face to now just putting on a smile, because you're basically faking it. And like I said in the beginning, you always want to be authentic to yourself. You
Mm,
need to do that, because if you're not, then you're damaging you, and you don't want to damage you. I'm not, once again, I'm not telling individuals to be selfish, but I'm saying in order to honor others, you must first honor yourself. We have to send good signals to ourselves, because sometimes the signals that we send to ourselves, they start to show up in other places. We all have that critic that's in our voice giving us the negative doubt. They're saying you can't do this and or you can't do that, and you really have to challenge yourself, because as you are giving birth to something new, that new you hears that old voice, and it's like maybe the old me was doubtful, but the new me is not. And you have to
mm.
challenge that. You have to separate yourself from that voice, and you always have to move forward and just forge that path forward, because you're creating something new. And that's a beautiful journey.
It is. And as I see it, it is part of, it's very much actually a spiritual journey, right? Being a leader of an organization where hundreds or in some cases thousands of people work under you in that organization as your team, you have this responsibility to nurture yourself first and then pour into their cup as well, so they can also grow in their life, in their personal, professional, and spiritual life, as they spend more and more time at your company. And I see that, and I'm sure you have seen that too. Some leaders, even though there are so many trainings and all that structure in place, it's only on paper. There are trainings going on every month. All the employees, they are taking those trainings, completing those trainings, but you don't see any difference, any change in their behavior, right? They're getting more and more toxic with each
Mhm.
other, with the customers or clients. And I have seen, this is absurd, but I have seen this even in healthcare companies. Like, they are called health care companies, but they are treating each other and the patients equally, just so bad. Because and connecting back to your point, I feel because they don't have the awareness of what it feels like to be treated nicely for
Right.
themselves first, and
Mhm.
how can they then replicate the same for others, or how can they honor that
Right.
human being, that they are dealing with, or that's their subordinate, or colleague, whoever. This is strange.
No, you're absolutely right. And I like to look at hospitals as wellness campuses. And
Mm,
when you're going to a wellness campus, the first thing you're supposed to do is treat everybody well. And
yeah.
if you have that type of mentality, even if you're not able to embody it yourself, by you thinking of a wellness campus, it kind of does shape the way that you do look at things. But you're absolutely right. If you don't have it authentically where you're giving it to yourself, there's no way possible you'll be able to replicate it to someone else. And then guess what? it comes off to be fake, disingenuous, and people can feel that. They know when you're not being authentic. They kind of know when you're just kind of just putting on that smirk and giving them that spill and then walking out the door. So it's like it does take time. It takes time, and that's why I always do encourage individuals to hibernate like the bears. Get into a room, get into a zone where it is all about you, where you're not able to necessarily have your phone, have a TV, have anything, no devices, but you're able to just talk and have those heavy conversations with yourself, where you're able to actually meditate and envision who you want to be and envision that person, and then say, well, what would that person do today? What would that person eat for lunch? What do winners eat for breakfast? And then just start to incorporate those things. Start to show gratitude to other individuals, because it starts to become just second nature. If you see someone struggling with something, go ahead and help them out. And a lot of times, a lot of leaders, they'll come in through the back door and they'll go in their office and close the door.
Yes.
Or they'll walk down the hallways and they'll have their head down, and they may only acknowledge certain people. But we need to acknowledge everybody, because everybody is playing a role there. From the individuals that's mopping the hallways, from the people, for your example, at a hospital, for the people that's in medical records, the people that are in the ER, the people that are at the top floor that are doing x-rays. Everybody plays a key component, and you are responsible for all of these individuals. So if you have a dead spirit, it translates to almost having a dead team. The hallways will be dark. They won't be filled with laughter. And it will start where patients are like, I don't want to come here anymore. Like, why am I coming here? They kind of get that sense. But when you are alive inside, then everything else will be fruitful as well, too. You will hear the laughter in the hallways. You will hear people that are excited to come to work and excited to participate with different things, because you are being true to the mission, and that explodes into the community that you serve.
Right, absolutely. And you use this word, which really, really, I love. It's such a powerful word if people can understand. Leaders are leading with a dead spirit. And that is what they're replicating, like killing other people's spirit, killing their team's spirit, killing the spirits of the patients who are coming in, because that's how you are, you're mirroring those neurons, and they are, seeing and receiving and feeling it. They're like, oh, this place is dead. I might see these bodies, walking around, these doctors and nurses and the staff, but I don't feel the life here. I can't feel like these people can cure me,
Right,
because you're right. It's all trickling down from the top, because the top management is all about making profit from people, right? They're all about numbers. Doctor, how many? And I can say this because I had just recently this experience working for a very short time in healthcare industry, and behind the doors in the corporate office, all they're talking about is, the numbers every evening. What were the numbers? Were the numbers met? Did each doctor in all different specialties see the 25 to 30 patients? That was their assigned number. And I'm like, I thought I am coming into a health care company. Where is the care? Where is the health?
mm-hmm. Exactly. Right. Yeah. And I think that a lot of the times when people do get like a quote unquote executive coach, they do focus on the numbers, on profitability. And I understand that you need that in order to survive in any industry. But when I do come in, it's not about the numbers. I'm people centric, because I believe that the people will move the numbers. I believe that with the right team, and it doesn't even have to be the right team. When I'm talking about the right team, it could be people that have the hustle, have the motivation. You've hired them because me and you, we share the same values. Me and you, we understand the mission. Me and you, we really want to serve our community. That's the type of right team that I'm talking about. When you have the right team in place and everything is working in sync, that right team will work 10 times, tenfold more productive, where you're consistently hitting targets, you're making achievements, and we never once had to do anything just based on the actual numbers. We may not even have to talk about the numbers, but with the right leader and the right type of team, then you can do almost anything. You can achieve anything. That team can be 5 people compared to another team of 20 people. But if everybody's really engaged for the purpose and to really make those goals happen because they really do care about their patients, they really do care about the community, and they have the values of integrity, of teamwork, of dedication, motivate, then all of those things will just naturally happen. But it's all about cultivating that. It's all about you being that leader, because leaders, if you can make that transformation as a leader, that'll transform into how workers work. And if that transforms to how workers work, that'll definitely translate to how your clients feel.
Yeah.
That'll translate especially to how your patients feel. And that oozes
Absolutely.
out into the community, and then that translates about how they feel as well too. And a lot of the times there's businesses right in the center of a community, and nobody in that community service or patronizes that business. They're getting their business from somewhere else or from a different community. And I always question, well, how come you don't use the patrons that are here?
Yeah.
How is that possible that you haven't aligned with them here? And they're like, oh, well, they're not our target customer. Well, why? They're right here.
That's a great question to be, thinking about for the leaders, And I'm also thinking as we are using the word leader and the leadership a lot, the definition of the leader, what is the definition of the leader? And what my understanding is, the number one job I understand for the leader is to produce more leaders, right? To practically show the employees or their teams, how to be a good leader, and then translate that all the way to the front desk staff, right? In whichever industry you are. And if you are not producing and cultivating good leaders, and you're just focusing on yourself, and everyone else is all about targets and numbers and profitability, I don't think that's a healthy culture, And every manager should also understand that they are a leader of a team. In that capacity, they are also a leader, right? And if, let's say, somehow from the top, those values are not being conveyed or translated, every manager can, start their own journey of being a good leader, right?
Mhm.
What do you think?
I think that you're spot on. I think that a leader's job is to definitely to produce more leaders, but it is a little bit more complicated than that. That's why as a leader, you can't have one leadership style.
Mm,
I too, I'm a coach, but as a leader, you have to be a coach as well too. You have to be a coach, a mentor. You have to look at the gaps and say, this person is in finance, but we can really utilize them over here in this department. So it's about almost seeing what your team is capable of doing and then elevating them so that they're able to do it. It's about giving them the resources that they are able to have. So if it's educational resources, if it's you investing on taking them or giving them to a conference, or you showing them a book, it's about nurturing them where they're at so that you see where they can go. So now you help them where they're able to get there. And then this is the thing, when you are really just that superhero leader, you will develop your team so that they could have left you years ago, but they admire you and respect you so much, they're still right there with you. You have so many talented individuals who are executives that have pretty much climbed and reached their peak in the corporate world, but they really love the president that they work for, and they're executives, and they could easily become entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, because they have the experience, they know how to come from a system where there are systems in place, and now they're able to start their own company to produce and create their own systems, but they love and respect the president so much where they're right there where they're at. And I think that that's an honorable feeling to have, where you have been able to grow your whole team, and you're kind of wondering like, okay, when are they going to leave? Because they can at any given time, because you've given them everything that they need, but they're still right there because they're right where they want to be. And then if that leader does have a succession plan or they do retire, now these individuals are now giants within their respective fields and their respective titles, where they can go anywhere else and they can definitely make it. So I do encourage leaders, like if you do see someone that's kind of failing a little bit, they may not be necessarily not showing up and be 100% committed. They may just need a different role or a different responsibility within the job. And then that can be that gear that really kicks everything else into place.
Wow. So imagine that kind of legacy from a leader, when they leave and they leave behind, such huge, giant leaders, who fill their space and run that organization even better because now you have produced multiple leaders
Yes,
instead of you just being that one person, and what a beautiful world this would be where people, so many people these days, they feel burnt out, not respected, not acknowledged. On the other hand, it would be beautiful. Everyone is so satisfied because everyone wants to contribute. They want to feel useful, right? As human beings, I think this is our number one need, maybe, that
right,
we want to feel useful and appreciated and
right.
we are willing to put more effort and time willingly, right?
Yes,
From our soul, from the spirit. We want to excel at the things when we feel and we see that we are being appreciated, we are contributing to the growth, and at the same time we are operating from a human level and we are
yes,
not being treated as just as machine or replaceable individual. Anyone can replace you anytime, or you just don't like the job because you see those in front of you people, how they are treating others or how they are talking about others, and you get the sense like, okay, so you are talking about me the same way because I know how you talk about other people.
right, right, exactly. Yeah, that's true. Yes, very true. Yes, and I think that it's important that leaders do nurture the teams that they do have, because if you don't nurture them, then that's when they grow stagnant. And then there's the term, the silent resignation, where
Mhm.
people start to come to work and now they're looking for other jobs because they're like, I can take this institutional knowledge. I've been here for 8 years and I can go to the competition and they'll rightfully so give me that promotion. They'll rightfully so give me the compensation that I've been entitled to for this whole entire time. So you don't want to lose the talent you do have. You want to keep them there and you just want to lift them up as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, so don't operate from your small ego self, right? And bring your whole self, your bigger self, the spirit into your business as well, because business really is a spiritual practice if you think about it, and not just about material, profitability, because the profit, if we really look into the definition of it, is like something of growth, something, that
Right,
grows and it blooms, and you want to apply that principle to the business and the people in the business, because at the end of the day, every business, their purpose is to serve people. And when you
right.
are neglecting those very people who are working in that business, imagine what kind of a vibe you're sending out to
Mm-hmm.
the customers, or your clients or your product users, whoever they are. And no wonder there's so much chaos in the world, because everything that we are using, we are consuming, it's coming from people who are so unsatisfied in their jobs, right? In the healthcare case, the patients, they're not being cured. There's so many diseases and they're only getting worse and worse because those doctors, they are not being satisfied doing their job, and everyone in that chain is just there because they have to pay their bills. And
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's a good point that you make, and it just highlights one of the first things that I do start to tell individuals, and it's not just leaders, it's as just as human beings. The first thing that we do need to start doing is showing charity. And people always say, "Oh, I give time, I give money." No, give your heart, because once you do start to give charity as far as love, then it just becomes a lot simple. And we give charity within our own homes, for example, with our spouse, our kids, or our pets. But when you start to take that outside the home, into the world, into the individuals within your neighborhood, and especially bringing it into your team, your department, your organization, it's power within that term charity. It turns people around because they can feel it. And then when you leave the room, that feeling is still there. It's not something that's just left with you. That feeling is still there. And that's the key thing. We don't remember what people tell us, but we do remember on how people made us feel. And
Yes.
that's the key.
Absolutely. So as a leader, you know, sometimes some leaders they think like, oh, I got these degrees and I have this much experience. I don't need to learn anymore, right? I don't need anybody's help. Now I know everything. I'm all knowing individual just because I'm leading a team or I'm leading a company or, you know, a corporation. But as an individual, our growth doesn't stop until the very last day on this earth. So everyone needs a coach like Chantal here, who can speak to your spirit and who can uh, address you, your organization, your work, and your life holistically. I
Right.
love it.
Thank you so much. And you really made a good point. Even some of the most vetted senior leaders, they're like, I don't need to learn anymore. But the thing is that you do, because the only thing that's happening to the work landscape is that more individuals are coming into it. So now you have individuals from the silent generation that are still working and they're creating their succession plans. But now you have Gen Zers that are now entering into the market. So now you have this fuse where it's multicultural, multi-diverse, and Harvard and Yale, they don't teach you how to blend these two teams together so that you're not working with a group of people, but now you're working with a team of people. And that's a difference. It's a difference between a group and a team. And so you have to know how to fuse those teams together so that they are able to work effectively, where you are able to use traditional values and then fuse them in with fresh, innovative concepts. And to be able to do that, you really are having to be a flexible leader. You can't just rely on just one leadership stance to get you through. So there's always going to be that growing process. The rules and the regulations on the business field are changing every single day. So with that being said, you're going to have to change so that you're able to not be reactive, but to be proactive. And then within the same time, still be mindful and in the moment and still have those meaningful conversations with your team because you want to check in with them. You always want to see the pulse of your organization and the pulse of the department and most importantly the pulse of the people who you serve, because that's going to be a difference. If they're not feeling a certain way, you want to talk about how they are feeling, and by them actually doing the work, they might be able to tell you that we're going to have to turn from this method to this method, or we're going to have to change from this approach to that approach. So now you're going to have to lean in onto their wisdom, and now that'll help you have a brighter sense on how you can address certain problems that are coming ahead in the future. So it's about future proofing the business, but
Mm.
you can't future proof the business if you are not learning new things every day.
Absolutely true. This is a great point that you brought into it, you know, making your business future proof, right? Reading the future, what's coming up. You know, there were times maybe when people were not as you know, influential in terms of not having enough money. So whatever kind of job they were having, okay, they want to stick to that. Whatever the environment of the company, toxic, not toxic, they were like, okay, I'm just coming here because I have to pay bills and these are my options. But these days, the new generation that's coming up, you know, into the workforce, they have so many options, and then they think differently, right? They understand things differently, and you need to be able to, as you said, be able to communicate with them, understand them, and read the trends, right? Read the
Right.
trends and be able to act accordingly. Now I feel very strongly about this. Then mostly people are not as much about money. They are more about, you know, being treated as human, not just themselves but everyone around them. The empathy, that compassion, that temperature is really rising, and you must as a leader be able to incorporate that feeling and that you know, behavior and practice into your organization, because otherwise we have tragedies such as, you know, the CEO being killed, and you know, in the broad daylight. And imagine the sentiment of the public. Everybody is you know, somehow it's sad and unfortunate, you know, to lose a life, or for human life to be lost. But it tells you the temperature or the sentiment of where public feelings are, right? They are all uh, backing the action of this guy. who murdered the CEO of a healthcare company just because every single person has experienced something that was inhuman
Right.
to them. So in order to bring that, not just in healthcare, but because this example is, everybody's familiar, so I'm bringing this back to this example. But as leaders, it doesn't. We must change our mindset that it's not about profitability only. Right now and moving forward, the consciousness is raising and awareness levels are at a different level. So we must operate our businesses from more human place.
Yes, I could not agree more. And that's why I think that it all falls back onto the mission. A lot of people work for organizations and they don't know the mission statement.
Yeah.
And I ask them, how come you don't know the mission statement? And they're like, it's too long. And it's like, okay, well, summarize it for me. And they still can't tell me the mission. And if you can't tell me the mission, then why are we here? If soldiers don't know the mission, that causes loss of life.
Yes.
That causes a epic fail.
Yeah.
And we can't have those types of fails. Everybody needs to know their mission. That way they're able to do their assignment. If you're able to do the assignment, now we're able to hit targets. Now we're able to create different goals where we've moved past this one point and now we can focus on something else. And then here's the beautiful part about it. If now we're being that catalyst for change, because now we have the silent generation and Gen Zers working together, we can become that catalyst for change where now people are coming to us because they want to model what we have in place. Now we're looked at as the practice that is to be modeled because we've been able to do X, Y, and Z. Yes. Now, by us not going with the trends and more being the trendsetters and not going from riding a wave to now we are that wave, now that's where everything really starts to go into place. That's what validates you as a leader when other people are able to say, hey, we want to come on here. Like, what do you have for us? Like, I'll work here in this department so I can work my way to the bottom, but I believe in what you do. Yeah. I believe in the actions that you guys are taking. And a lot of people, like you said before, they just want to go somewhere to get a check. But it's about that internal factor that we do have. All of us have that factor where we do want to make a difference as well too. We do want to be a part of something bigger than us, so that can be the legacy for our kids and our great grandkids when they do tell our story. It's not like she just worked in a factory. She worked in a factory that believed in X, Y, and Z, and they gave 20% of their profits to the homeless, and they did these types of walk for individuals for domestic violence. They did this for individuals with Alzheimer's. It's all about different things, and it's all about human kindness. So like I tell individuals, beyond all of the money, what are we doing for the people that we serve? Because these individuals, they may not know that we can help them, but we can help them. So what are we doing? What are we putting our profits towards? What's happening with this? And then you see a lot of organizations that are letting go of departments. They're letting go of programs. They're letting go of people. And that's stripping away their identity just so that they can blend in with other people's identity. And it's like, we can't do that. And as before, I did talk about a canvas of art. And if we're following behind each other, can you imagine going to an art gallery and all of the paintings are the same? That would be boring. Like, all of these are the same. They're all this. Everything is the same. Yeah. No, that's the purpose of going to a gallery, so we can look at different, beautiful, vibrant pictures on how they resonate with us and how the art makes us feel. And that's one of the things that I said when you asked me about bloom. How do I define bloom? And it's about the radiation and the glowing. And so we radiate and we glow, and some people don't even know that about us. And we call it our aura, but it's how you're actually showing up in society and how you're showing up in the world.
Wow, this is so powerful. I wish, more and more businesses and more leaders can understand and feel this spirit, what you are talking about, and bring that culture into their organization. So employees, most of employees, including you and me, we spend most of our time during the day, the waking hours at businesses, at work. We imagine if we are thriving in there, not just from the professional standpoint, but from personal standpoint as well. As humans, our spirits are happy and joyous and in passion, and everything that we are doing with our full heart, and are pouring our spirit into it. Imagine the blessings that will come out from
Yeah.
that business, and the products that we are producing in there, whatever services or products we are making at that factory or organization. You mentioned another very beautiful point, that was employees often, and at some level, some leaders too, not knowing the mission statement of the company, right? And that brings me to another point, which is sometimes, people are passionate when they read the mission statement of the company, and they're applying for certain job, and they're like, oh, this looks really great company because they do X, Y, and Z, and those are the same values, that are aligned with my values, and I want to go work with that company. And I think we discuss all of that in our interviews, but then when we join that company and we try to navigate different roles and daily operations, all of a sudden we question, really, was that really the mission, or what we are doing, or is the opposite, or that mission was just empty words for that
Mhm.
company, right? That
Right.
also could be the reason that we start to disengage and disassociate with that mission statement, and then all of a sudden we just forget about the mission statement, because it's not a living mission statement for that company. The
Right.
employees cannot experience it. It's just like out there, some empty words for everyone who gives it, who cares. As you said, people remember how they felt, not
Right.
how the things were.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes some people, I was doing a survey just looking at people about how they felt about workers, about how they felt about their job, how they felt about the mission statement, the values, how did they feel valued, how did they feel like they belong, what acts of service were given to them where they actually felt included, what acts of service did they feel after their employee engagement services, what type of awards were being taken place, what type of activities did you guys have where you guys could actually bring your family members with you to work, or
Mm.
bring your daughter to day work, or did you guys actually have picnics or festivities, or all meet at a beach, or even have retreats? What was being implemented? And one of the things that was the biggest census is that a lot of employees said that they felt that the mission statement was a PR statement. It was
Oh.
just fluff. It was just something that was shiny and looked good and sounds really wonderful. But once you get here, that is completely opposite of what is happening. And I thought that that was really frustrating for me, because I feel that that is what it's all about. The core
Yeah.
is the mission statement. So if you have individuals saying that it's a PR statement, that it's not good. And so we don't want PR statements, because once again, when you are not being authentic, people feel that. And it doesn't take long to have that feeling resonate. It could take seconds, minutes, and then it kind of gives you a stain on how you feel about coming to work.
Mm, absolutely true. And so, Chantal, this was such a powerful conversation. I don't want to stop, only if I could. But I want to go on and on, because this is such a real life conversation. Because, all of us, we work, in one kind or the other kind of jobs. And this is so true for so many of us. And I wish, some leaders, this podcast, this conversation can read to certain leaders, and, certain number of leaders, so they can just think about it, right? And incorporate what you are telling them, and how we are discussing everything from different standpoints. From, you're a coach, I have been an employee, I am an employee, and from both sides, they can see, I hope they can see this. So what is something that you would want to leave them with, like a piece of advice that, if you can take anything else from this conversation, please pay attention to this one.
Pay attention that you can start right now with making these changes. You don't have to wait until tomorrow morning, or you don't have to wait until you actually get connected with the coach or a mentor, because those things can take time. It's about taking action, moving with intention. Be honest with yourself. What can you do right now? And then start to implement that. It takes small steps until you get to the big steps. Even if you're crawling, you're still moving forward. That's an action. So whether you are crawling right now, taking small steps, or you're able to take a big step, what is something that you can commit to right now? Not one day, but this is day one. Day one of you challenging yourself to do something different, to show and give that charity. How can you start to implement that charity right now? Even if you may not love some of your coworkers, but you guys are in fellowship with each other every day at the workplace. You love your job. So it's not about them as the individual, it's about the work that you guys can do together. And together, that's what's going to make the impact. How can you provide that charity? Can you start bringing coffee, donuts, food into the team meetings? Can you start to really look people in the eye and say, good morning, how are you doing? And waiting for them to respond before you go to your office. Can you start to have real meaningful one-on-one conversations with some of the individuals on your team that you haven't spoken to in a while? And then start to build up that real sense where now you're turning your group into an actual team of people, and the team, they'll start to feel that, and then that will automatically create and change the culture. So now you're coming from a thriving, blooming environment from work, and then that'll automatically transition to when you get back home, and it'll just be a different cycle that you will be able to have. But let's do it right now. What can we do right now? I'm always looking to sharpen the wheel, because iron sharpens iron. So definitely, I learn things from my clients all the time. I'm not here just to educate. I'm here to learn at the same time. I'm here as a friend. I'm here as a coach. I'm here as a guider. And then we're working through this together. So everything that I'm telling individuals to do, I too have had to do them myself. So I know about the work that's being done. And it doesn't have to be looked at as a task. Make it fun. That way you're able to do it. But I want to leave them with, what is something you can do now? And then just start to continue that every day.
Wow, what a powerful piece of advice, Shauntel. Thank you so much. And I would say to you, take action, to just repeat what Shauntel said, but also reach out to her and, get help, get the resources, get the mentorship, coaching, guidance, everything. Because I can tell you, she has a wealth of experience, knowledge, and wisdom on top of that. The way she sees things on a very holistic way, in a very holistic level, that is rare. Sometimes we have coaches, who are only there to help you with the HR or the performance or profitability or marketing or sales, whatever. What Shauntel brings to the team or to the table is a holistic point of view, and a holistic coaching, holistic mentorship that will not only change your business game, but it will change your life game on a whole. So you will have better command and better control over your work, over your life, over building team, over building leaders, because you want to build leaders, and that is your real legacy. Of course you want to build businesses, but building leaders is long lasting legacy that everyone want to create. I want to have that. And so here, Shauntel, how where and how people can reach to you and start working with you.
Yes, individuals definitely, they can email me at Shauntel at wishingyouwellinlife.org. And that is SHAUNTEL at wishingyouwell.org, and put in the title, whatever some of your challenges are, and then send me just a brief summary of some of the things that you are encountering, and we can schedule a one-on-one meeting and then go to work from there. And all of my discovery calls, it's not a sales call, it's just me getting to know you and connecting with where you are as a human being right now, and to explore different options. And the thing is that I help people by helping people. So you will get the results you do need in real time. We will create an action plan in real time. It might be a love-hate relationship, but we will work through this together. And so the best way is just to definitely email me from there, and then we can just start doing the work. But the time, it does start now.
Yes. please reach out to Shauntel again. I can't emphasize how important it is and how life-changing it can be for yourself and for your team and your organization. So organizations also should allocate resources for the team members and for the leaders to access these opportunities and these resources to be able to work with a mentor, maybe on a short term, right? Every year, do a review, go over your progress and your goals for the next year, and then, bring back that coach, that mentor again, to give them an opportunity for work for a week or, minimum for their life and for their work. And the employees would love it. They would stay with your company and they would be happy and looking forward to this opportunity for the next year while they are still, working for this year's goals and improving themselves. That would alone, I mean, if I talk about myself, if a company would offer me this opportunity to work with Shauntel 1 week, in the year, and then look forward to the next, I would stay with that
Right.
place,
Yeah.
with that organization, because that's a huge benefit.
Yes, it's a benefit just within having an accountability partner, with having someone who's able to see your blind spots. And that's what a blind spot is. It's something that we aren't not able to see. So if somebody can point out to you your blind spots, give you the roadmap, hold you accountable, be there to anchor you and forward you through that path, it almost pays for itself. It's almost just a no-brainer to go ahead and do that. But the thing about it is that a lot of people, they kind of feel like, oh, I got this, it's under control. But life is by us living, we are in school, the school of
Yes.
life. And every day we come about different things, and everybody needs somebody to lean on. Even a coach has a coach.
Yes.
So
That is so true. Even a coach has a coach. Even a
yes,
therapist has a therapist. So
yes,
understand from that point of view and really pay attention and work, like find someone, accountability partner. You want to call it a coach, a mentor, or accountability partner, as you said. Have that person in your life, and grow from there, because it's so right. Like we all have our blind spots, over time. Doesn't matter how expert we are in our work or industry. We need someone to help us understand and see the blind spots and then work on them to get even better. There's
yes,
no such thing that, oh, I'm perfect, I'm the master of this skill. No, as long as you're alive, you are continuously learning. This life is a school in itself, and you learn all the way. So with that, I would say thank you so much for staying with us for this conversation. I hope you got tons of value from this conversation and from Shauntel, especially. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do subscribe it and give this video a thumbs up if you like this conversation, and press the bell icon so all the future notifications can get to you. Before I leave you, I would love to share my motto: live with passion and chase your dreams, and keep growing and keep blooming.